The chapter number 16 is about hydrocarbons, and we have already discussed that hydrocarbon is simply the study of hydrogen and oxygen bonded to carbons, and there are obviously three branches of them. Now, first thing, the property that we have been studying from the very first day of chemistry is that organic chemistry is when hydrogen and oxygen only contain are present in something. This is called as hydrocarbons. The ability of carbon in which carbon attracts another carbon or carbon bonds to another carbon, this is called as the catenation. So its mostly properties been allotted to carbon only, but some of this somehow not really, but except carbon, the only element who can do this is silicon. So you should be clear about it. Here is the types of hydrocarbons. What are they are divided into the basic classes. One is the open structures or open chain structures. They are called as they are obviously they require the saturated substances. No ring is needed in this particular open chain or acyclic. Obviously A is there, so it refers to acyclic. No cycle is required in them. Next thing would be closed chain. When it comes to the closed chain, substances are those who are arranged in a closed chain, and even they cannot be in a straight chain. So when cyclic is required, obviously they got closer, just like you can see alicyclic or hydrocarbon or cycloalkane is the example of cyclic compounds or cyclic hydrocarbons. Benzene is another example. Likewise, when we refer to the open chain or acyclic one, they would not require cycle, they would be laying plain. Just like over here, we got two divisions of them: the saturated hydrocarbons, the unsaturated hydrocarbons. The saturated hydrocarbons are alkenes, while the asaturated or unsaturated carbons are the unsaturated hydrocarbons would be the what you call the alkenes and alkynes. So again, cycle makes the difference. When it comes to the open chain hydrocarbons, are those they are in which carbons are attached to another carbon. They don't need any ring upon them. Saturated hydrocarbons are those which are having which lie in a way that they contain alkenes or paraffin are the example of them. When it comes to the unsaturated hydrocarbons, alkene or olefins are the example of them. You should memorize the difference between the two. The basic difference came out to be is that they are bonding. When it comes to the unsaturated hydrocarbons, the first difference came out to be is that carbon are bonded to another carbon via the single bond. Others having double bond, we all know that. But the actual thing that differ them is that they make the saturated hydrocarbons will be making sp3 hybridization. So sp3 hybridization is shown. The example of it would be methane, in which we got four hydrogens arranged in a way that they would make bond angle of about 109 degrees. When it comes to the unsaturated hydrocarbons, they would be making generally sp2 or sp hybridization, and the bonding may vary obviously accordingly. Presence of the double and triple bond makes them do differ. Here's the thing, they name it as a 2-butane. Okay, when it refers to the basic chain, this is called as pentane. Straight chain is there. How can we make an isomer of it? The first thing that make them do differ is to place the methane group right over here, and we can count the number. When it comes to we should be concerned with the left and right side carbons present to them. The side which contain lesser number of carbons, we can start our numbering from there. So here comes the methane group on the very left side of it. It gives rise to 2-methyl butane. 2-methyl because 2 methanes are present in a row. When it comes to this way, so we can start numbering from this very batch. That is why we can name them as 2-methyl butane. Okay, next thing would be here it comes to the 1-pentene. Why we are gonna call it as 1-pentene? Because there is a pentene group, and the left hand side of this thing will contain lesser number of carbons, while the right hand side would have the 4 number of carbons next to it. So the point which contain lesser number of carbons, we will start the numbering from there, and we are going to name it as 1-pentene. Likewise, if we select any carbon from here, let's say I pick this one and I place it at the lower, I attach it to this carbon who was laying next to the double double bond, I will start my numbering again from this side, which side contain the double bond, but in alphabetically first we have to write up this thing which is methane. That is why we call it as 3 methane 1 butene. That is it. No need to mention it's branched or not. It's obvious thing that they will be branched. Okay, alkyne or alkene or acetylenes are there. They contain the triple bond, and sp hybridization is found among them. Here is their property. The point who is closer to the triple bond, we will start the numbering from there, and that is how we can name them as one alkyne or one propyne, one butene, one propyne accordingly. About the differentiation between the two structures, you can say that it's simply the closed chain hydrocarbons. What are the closed chain hydrocarbons? They are basically the hydrocarbons which in which carbon is attached to each other to create two rings. Now further, it's been divided into two rings. How can we differentiate? And one is the aromatic ring, but we have studied clearly in detail in the first year's benzene ring. And what is the difference of this ring with the alicyclic hydrocarbons? So when it comes to the non-benzoid cyclic hydrocarbons, they are called as the alicyclic. So when it doesn't increase, when there is no need to display the bond, this will be coming under the jurisdiction of the alicyclic hydrocarbons. But the simplest way to memorize it to be clear that it possesses two hydrogens less than that of the corresponding open chain. Let's say if benzene in an open chain contain propane in an open ring contain, or in an open chain contain 8 hydrogens, they contain 2 less hydrogen as compared to the other propane. So it will be like cyclopropane will carry 2 less hydrogen as compared to the simple propane. So here are the structure. Meanwhile, if I just to make you clear, if I display a bond over here, it will be now called as the aromatic rings. So what is the basic requirement of having alicyclic ring is that there shouldn't be any bond display available on the structure, just like cyclopentane, cyclohexane, and each corner of the chain of the structure would be representing the availability of the carbon. So in chemistry, even the carbon will be the corners like this way will represent the presence of carbon. Aromatic hydrocarbons are those hydrocarbons which contain at least one benzene ring. So it is the basic requirement. While when it comes to the alicycle, presence of 2 less hydrogen was needed. Okay, when it comes to the benzene ring, it contain like aromatic ring, it must contain one less benzene ring, such as it's called as aromatic hydrocarbons. In these compounds, all the carbon atoms present in the rings are sp2 hybridized. Okay. Benzene, which is the simplest aromatic hydrocarbons, has a regular hexagonal structure with alternative arrangement of double and single bonds. So what makes this simple ring to be called as benzene is that it must require presence of these alternative availability of the benzene ring. Meanwhile, if I attach one functional group to this ring, like CH3, if you attach this CH3 to the ring, this is called as toluene. If I place 2 rings, it will change its name to as 1312 dimethyl benzene ring. But again, what aromaticity is the presence of a benzene ring, alternative arrangement of single and double bond. When it comes to the alicyclic, presence of the 2 lesser number of hydrogen was required. The alkanes and cycloalkanes, basically when it comes to the simplest organic molecules with only carbon and hydrogen atoms, commercially important as the oil and fuels, they contain single carbon, single atom. Now it comes to the naming. When it comes to the naming, the first requirement should be that we need to identify the longest chain, because that should be the first step. Obviously, if you are able to identify the longest chain, after that you can see what are the functional groups where the double or triple bonds are present, so we can name it accordingly. So right in the very first example, we can see that there are 5 carbon chain. That is why we can call this chain as a pentane chain. Let's say mistakenly I would try to name this way. No, it is not possible. Why? Because in a straight chain there is a availability of longer chain possible. So I would be naming it as pentane. Referring to this one is again, this is the same chain, but if again I would try to like let's say shuffle it this way, this would be ignored, and it's not possible to refer to one carbon ignoring availability of three more carbons. That is why first step is to identify the presence of longest chain, then you can move ahead. Step number 2 is that if there are two or more than two chains of equal length, the chain with the longer number of branches is selected as main chain. Okay, let us say we can like modify this structure to like maybe left or right side, like let's say I would be ignoring this thing. So in that case I would have to see where are the longer chain available. When longest chain is available, I would straight away go to that particular place. So I am fine till this point, but I feel dubious, like where should I go? I would count the number. Is this side contain only one carbon? No, it's not be possible. This somehow contain two carbons, that could be considered. This one can never be considered, but counting this way they contain more number of carbons. So the basic chain would be like this way, because this side contain more carbons. Again, referring to two main carbons are not possible. You have to consider one chain. If two exactly balanced carbons are like chains are available, let us say like this way, if I move upward, that is fine. If I move downward, they contain, both sides contain two numbers of carbons. So the best way to name them as a lot, any one of the carbon, like consider any one of the carbon chain as the parent chain, and other should be attached as the what you call the functional group. But ideal practice is that the plain chain should be termed as the parent chain, while naming other available chains as the functional group. You can change them as ethane, ethyl, whatever they are. So rule number 1 was that select the longest chain. Rule number 2 was that select the, if the two equal length chains are available, straight away move to the plain chain and allot other chains as the functional group name. When two identical substituents are present at equal distances from either end, number the chain starting with the end with each minimum number of carbons attached to the containers. Okay, the first concept we just clear out that the basic chain should be, or the parent chain should be the lower chain, or the where they are laying down. So let us say we are done with this thing. Now the same number of carbons are present, like one. Okay, so it's been attached to it, over left side of it contain only one carbon, so is the same. But now what should be considered? The best way is to consider like, okay, if I start naming from this particular end, which side contain availability of a functional group. Now we will consider the guy who is attached next to this one. So if I start my naming, my numbering from this side, the number would be appreciated if I name the structure from like this one would be called as carbon number 1, moving ahead would be called as carbon number 2, while the third, the next functional group, should be called as carbon number 3. If I count down from the very left side of mine, like if I allotted carbon number 1, carbon number 2, since there is no carbon available next to it, that is why I would not recommend as it for the naming purpose, because we need to consider both the groups for the both the factors for the naming purposes. So first consider that how many number of carbons are present on the left and right side of the element. Then if their minimum number got detected, you need to consider how many functional groups are present next to that particular element. If there is anything present, just go and straight away name that thing, and that is how you can see it. The next step came out to be is that the position of substituent, this is the substituent, position of the substituent indicated by the number of carbon atoms to which it is attached, just like methane over here. So we are, this will be the methane, attached will be the substituent of it. The number is prefixed to the name of group separated by the hyphen. So in order to name it off, we will place a hyphen, but it will be indicated as the like number of carbon to which it is attached, just like we can call it as 2-methyl hexane considering this carbon. When it comes to the multiple number, we would say that 2, 5 dimethyl hexane would be its actual name. The next functional group, the next point would be names of alkyl groups. Names of alkyl groups written before the name of parent chain in alphabetical order. Just like in the given example at point number 7, it is simply 3-ethyl. Although ethyl is attached to the carbon number 3, methyl, there is a methyl on carbon number 2, but alphabetically, since ethyl comes earlier, so we will name it first. We will call it as 3-ethyl 2,3-trimethyl. Tri will indicate the presence of three functional groups, and if it is methane as a functional group and it's attached to the 3 carbons, we will call it as trimethylhexane. Likewise, tetra, penta, deta, deca, they are all called as the number representation of the numbers. Likewise, in this particular chain, we would say that since there is a hexane, like this is hexane, hexane means 6, and again we will consider the same fact like considering left and right carbons. Okay, fine. But when we move to the middle carbon, like carbon number 3 over here, it contains the 3rd carbon. So we will start our numbering from this point. We will call it as 2,3-trimethylhexane. Likewise, considering this factor, there would be the 3rd functional group attached. So we will counter, or we will okay, so there is a ethane group. Okay, so when there is ethane group also, first we will counter what is the largest parent chain. Hexane was the parent chain. Second factor is to consider which is the larger functional group available over here. There is the functional ethane is the largest functional group available. So we will change the ending name who was earlierly ethane, ANE. Now we're going to change it as YL, ethyl. So we will call it as 3-ethyl 2,3,5-trimethylhexane. That is how we are going to name it off. If two identical groups appear at the same carbon, the number is written twice to indicate that there are 2 carbons present or any number present. Just like if there is methyl, again rule would be the same. Have the largest chain would be called as the larger parent chain. Right after that, the 2 same functional groups are attached, so we will be calling it as 2,2-dimethylpentane. Dimethyl because there are 2 methane groups present on a chain, so we're gonna name it. Okay, next thing would be the structural formula. Name the simplest groups. When it comes to this simplest table, we would feel that methane is here. It is not possible. Obviously, you need a corner to make that attachment possible. Here are their simple formula. This formula is called as their condensed formula. Again, the corners would be indicating the presence of carbons. In this particular chemistry, we will not use it, but later on, in order to mention about 10 or 20 when it cross up the number, the ideal practice is to place the number or write on this chain. Even some people used to indicate like, okay, so there are 20 carbons, 2 carbons are here, just write up the number 18 at the very point of it instead of doing it like this way. So it will take lots of time. So it is going to save the number, like if the total number of carbons available 20 and we have to mention them, so indicate 2 carbons in this way and write on the bottom of it, write up the number. That is how it will save the time. But again, every corner in chemistry like this way will represent the number of carbons present to the structure. Physical properties are simply ranging from the lesser number of carbons they are colorless, they are odorless, they are even gases. Moving from pentane to heptadecane, or from carbon number 5 to pentane to onward, carbon number 5 to carbon number 17, they are colorless, odorless, liquid. Now you can see there's a gradual change in the properties. The higher the number of members are there, ranging from carbon number 18 to onwards, they are the waxy solids, which are also colorless and odorless. Alkanes are non-polar, or they are very quickly polar and are insoluble in polar solvents, because we have studied they dissolve like polar substances will be dissolving polar, so the non-polar will dissolve non-polar. When it comes to the weakly polar, Now, non-polar substances, they will be soluble in non-polar only. They will not be soluble in the polar substances. The melting point and boiling points density increases with the increase in number of carbon. As soon as the number of carbon increases, their density, their melting boiling point also increases. The boiling point increases by 20 to 30 degree for addition of each CH2 group. As soon as we have studied in the homologous series, that as soon as you keep on adding CH2 group, it is going to change the property. But obviously they are predictable. Just like we can say that the smaller number of carbon containing chains are gases, then they move to the liquid, and ultimately they got changed to the solid particles. However, boiling points of alkane, who are branched chain structures, they are comparatively lower than their isomeric normal chain structures. Obviously, N-butane has a higher boiling point of about minus 0.4 degree than isobutane, who is having minus 10 degree. Obviously, when they're in the straight chain, atoms stay at their, electrons even stay at their particular place. The bonds are bonds are really rigid to break. But as soon as they got change in their structure, the bond density got distributed. That is why it is quite easier for to boil a substance comparatively. Isomerism in alkane is simply when we move from carbon 1 to carbon 3, alkane led to the simple and unique structures. So N-butane is having this structure. This is heat of formation. Boiling point is minus 0.4. When it comes to isobutane, its heat of formation would be minus 135, but with the lower boiling point. Same thing when it comes to the pentane. The properties do vary. As soon as you move ahead, the property will keep on showing variation. The boiling point will keep on decreasing. You don't have to memorize it, just take the concept of it. Relative stability. People usually feel that the branch chain, it is obvious, branch chain alkanes are more stable than the linear alkane, who are present in the form of the linear chain structures. 2-methylpropane is more stable than N-butane. When it comes to the relativity of alkane, the alkane or paraffins are inert towards acids, alkalis, oxidizing and reducing agent at the normal conditions. So you need to underline the statement. What are the normal conditions? What are the conditions at which they are like alkanes or paraffins are inert? So they are inert towards acid, alkalis, and this type of stuff. Why are they? The unreactivity of alkanes can be explained on the basis of inertness of their sigma bond, as well as since they are non-polar, inertness is the usual expected property. First thing is that he usually asks the same question in the exam. What is the inertness of sigma bond? When it comes to the sigma bond, the electrons are really tightly held between the nuclei. They captured it. So you would be seeing that the sigma bonds are usually present in the carbon-carbon single bond. When they're singly bonding, electron density is simply confining to that particular point. That is why they hold up the electron tightly between them. A lot of energy is required to break it. Because electron density is equally distributed, they are going to share it. That is why it will be harder for one to break the bond. Moreover, the electrons present in a sigma bond can neither attack on any electrophile. Electrophile is the one who love to attack the electron. They will be trying anything to accept the electron. Electron attractors are called as electrophile, while a nucleophile, those who attack on the nucleus, they are positively charged stuff, they are called as nucleophile. So it would not be possible to anything to attack on them. That is why they are relatively lesser soluble. What do we mean by this? First factor was that since they contain carbon-carbon single bond, within the carbon-carbon single bond, their sigma bond is tightly hold up between the nuclei, which is really harder to break the bond. A lot of energy to break the sigma bond, as well as the electrons present in the sigma bond, they can neither attack on any electrophile or nucleophile. Why? Because their electron density is confined to a very fixed point. They will not let it divert, they will not let it disperse even. That is why they are relatively less reactive. When it comes to the non-polar bond, simply polarity is when positive and negative charges attract each other. These are the non-polar bonds. The main thing makes them able to have the bond is the electronegativity. When it comes to electronegativity, we have seen that when we move from the very left side of the periodic table to the right side, the electronegativity increases. As soon as the electronegativity is increasing, the electronegativity increase from moving from being left hand side to the right hand side. Carbons, the number of carbons electronegativity is 2.4 when it comes to hydrogen, who is really electropositive as comparison to this carbon atom. Now they do not offer appreciably, and the bonding electrons between the two are equally shared, which makes them almost non-polar. Fine. The ionic reagents, because obviously when carbon is making bond with hydrogen, carbon makes 4 bond with hydrogen. The carbon lies in the middle, and every hydrogen is trying carbon is trying its best to apply equal forces on all the hydrogen atoms to attract the electrons from the hydrogens. Now they are equally shared between them, making them almost non-polar. The ionic reagents, who are the polar compounds such as acids, alkalis, and this thing, they have no reaction with the alkane molecule. Why? Because their electron density is equally distributed at anything. Generally, in case of alkene and alkyne, we expect that since electron density, it keep on moving, it keep on shuffling, like at this point it increases, then it decreases, so it gradually keep on changing itself. That is why it's quite fine to attack on the alkene and alkyne bond, because the bond distribution is like that way. When it comes to alkane, when electrons are distributed at an equal distance, it is quite harder to attack on their electron density. Okay, next thing came is thermal or catalytic reactions or substitute reactions. Now these reaction takes place at the very high temperature or upon absorption of light energy. They would be having free radical who are available to react with anything who is coming in the path. We will see later on. Okay, cycloalkane is another thing. When it comes to cycloalkane, there's a type of molecule that contain about that is having sp3 hybridized carbon and hydrogen atoms connected by the single bonds. Is possible because there is a ring of but 3 or more carbons who are attached together. Just like over here, we have seen that. Is cyclopropane, cyclobutane, cyclopentane, and onward. Scenario pack is the numbering to study. Okay. When it comes to the substituted groups who are attached to them, why are they important? Simply they are attached in a way that the sum of number is kept really minimum. Okay, so simply when it comes to the methyl, this triangle is called as the structure of cyclopropane. Since methyl is attached as a functional group, it will give up one of its hydrogens, so it changes that from being methane to methyl. There are two methane groups attached, so we will name it as 1 comma. This comma is a very important. So 1 2 dimethyl, because 2 methyls are there. Any methyl could be called as 1, any could be called as 2. Why? Because they are equidistant from these other carbons. When it comes to cyclohexane, 1 3 cyclohexane. Okay, some students feel that let's allot at number 1, this should be 2 3 and 4 and then 5. No, it's not possible. Obviously, it's a common sense thing that when you are moving to something who is closer to you, you should be moving like this way, moving like in a the clockwise direction. So it should be 1 3 dimethyl cyclohexane. If I attach a methane group to this side, then it's up to me. I could start my naming from this side or from that side. Both the things are same because they are at equidistant from this methane. So I could in that case call it as 1,3,5 trimethyl cyclohexane. If the alicyclic hydrocarbon is unsaturated, the rules apply to the alkenes for double bond or alkynes are used. Okay, so let's say there is a double bond available to indicate that this is a pentene, so we can call it as cyclopentene. Okay, in this case we can call it as cyclo. 1,4-hexadiene. Why 1 and 4? Because you can allot number 1 to this side or that side, it's same, but this diene would be indicating like, okay, there are 6 carbons, but there are 2 double bonds present on the structure as well. When it comes to this penta structure, anyone could be called as 1, anyone could be called as 3, but since there are 2 double bonds present, we can call it as diene, indicating 2 of the number. Multiple bonds are given, so the lowest possible number is not the thing. Basically, you have to consider where they are present and how we can number them, and to indicate either they are 2 or 3, we should be like straight away write the diene or triene earlier than that of the naming. I mean, like when we are closer to that diene or ene or ine, so they would be, let's say, triple bond, we would be naming it as cyclo 1,3 penta triene. However, it really happens, so simply let's stay confined to the double bond. So as soon as the cycle chain or the cycle keep on growing, we need to consider the same fact, but the factor we just added is that write the di or tri earlier than that of the functional group representation.